Afternoon. We live. Hey, we live. Afternoon. Hi, everyone. Afternoon. This is possibly the last one, man. This is the last one on the personal page. We tried to go live in the morning, so we didn't manage to go live. We went live via Zoom. So this morning we went live via Zoom. I think we shared the live recording from this morning. Um, Afternoons, I try to keep it short, and it's Friday. Chances are, um, you going somewhere. I was speaking to the madam. Says I must stop saying hi guys on something. I must say fellow South Africans because the crazy solution is even though it's international, it's relates to the South African perspective. So fellow South Africans, let's get on with it. Okay. Quick disclaimer: the information contained in this presentation and the resources available for download through JUPROP Group website and its affiliate sites, inclusive of social media platform, is not intended as and shall not be understood or construed as financial advice. I am not an accountant or a financial advisor, um, nor am I holding myself out to be. The information contained herein is not a substitute for sound financial advice from a professional who is aware of the facts and circumstances of your individual situation. We have done our best to ensure that the information contained, provided, and shared, the resources available for them are accurate and provide valuable information. Regardless of anything to the contrary, nothing available on or through this webinar should be understood as a recommendation that you should not consult with a professional to address your particular information. The company expressly recommends that you seek advice from a professional. The one who's speaking is Sepo. My name is Molitani, and I'll be doing this webinar for you, okay? And I'm from JUPROP, okay? And who's JUPROP? JUPROP, and what is it that we seek to do? We are here to enable credit active consumers with credit education tools and insights to improve their credit score. We are here to empower our clients with transitioning from tenants to homeowners by leveraging their credit. And the campaign that we are currently running is the 1 million credit report. And I think the next slide will make it clear of why we're pushing that campaign. Okay. In the country right now, there's 26 million, just over 26 million credit active consumers. Of that, about 9.88 million have impaired records. Okay. That means your account is in arrears for a period of over 3 months. We've got about 741,037 credit reports that have been issued to consumers, and over 95% of those are actually free reports. So this information comes from National Credit Regulator. What I wanted to say quickly with the credit reports that are being pulled is that you get annually in the countries legislated, you get one free credit report. So it's important that you take advantage, you take heed, you pull your credit report. We're repeating this message daily so that you take action, and that's what matters. There's a difference between someone who's listening, who's hearing, and who's taking action. Okay, so take action and pull your credit report. There's nothing to fear. There's really nothing to fear. Session one, our session is going to be broken down into three: understanding credit, get your credit report, and our group offer. Okay, I like dealing with the group offer in front. In September, we had a completely different offer, an extremely discounted offer. And right now where we are, I've got a friend of mine that's calling, but yeah, right now where we are, we've got three offers. We've got a bronze, we've got a what do you call silver and a gold package. Okay, we've got three packages. Okay. So understanding credit, this is the most important slide. Okay, this is the most important slide. I always say this is the most important slide. um, because the goal, that what we are trying to do with you in terms of transitioning you from a higher credit score, is that everyone's goal should be to move to a right side of the credit score. Meaning you want to be on an excellent or good credit score. That's ideally what you should be doing. Okay, that's ideally what you should be doing. And the reason why you want to do that is you get better rates if you have an excellent score, you know. It's much expensive when you have a very poor score. It costs you more. It costs you more. It really costs. It costs you more. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So we're dealing with credit, and I think it's important for you to know what is it and how is it, what is it that we're talking about. Most people get credit report. What are we talking about? What is credit? Credit is the ability to borrow money or access goods or services with the understanding that you'll pay later. Um, with the understanding that you'll pay later. That's from experience. Okay. At the core of it, credit is about trust. It's about trust. That payment will be made. That's what it is. So, in simple terms, the way I always define it is, credit is something that is inherent within you. So you can either activate it or you can leave it. Now, how do you activate it? You activate it by having accounts, by paying your accounts on time. So there's ways, and it's all algorithms and formulas. But in short, credit is the ability to borrow from your future self. That's what credit is about. It's about borrowing from your future self. In the country, we've got the National Credit Regulator, and the act that governs credit is the National Credit Act 34 of 2005. I'm not going to go through all those, but just to give you a quick summary of what that entails. So, the objective is to promote a fair and non-discriminatory marketplace for access to consumer credit, and for that purpose to provide for general regulation of consumer credit and improve standards of consumer information. Okay, to promote black economic empowerment and ownership within consumer credit industry, to prohibit certain unfair and reckless marketing practices, to promote responsible credit granting and use, and for that purpose to prohibit reckless credit granting, to provide for debt reorganization in cases of over indebtedness, to regulate credit information. Okay, to provide for registration of credit bureaus, credit providers, and debt counseling services. You can screen grab that, guys, and just have that so we don't waste time. Who's the credit provider? The credit provider, in respect of the credit agreement to which this act applies, means the party who supplies goods or services under a discount transaction, incidental credit agreement, or installment agreement, the party who advances money or credit under a pawn transaction, the party who extends credit under a credit facility, the mortgage under a mortgage agreement, the lender under a secured loan, the lessor under a lease, the party to whom an assurance or promise is made under a credit guarantee, the party who advances money or credit to another under any other credit agreement, or any other person who acquires the rights of a credit provider under a credit agreement after it has been entered into. Okay, what is in your credit report? The information that you will find that's in your credit report will include your personal information. I always say make sure that your address is updated. Make sure that the credit providers have your latest address, and the credit bureaus have your latest address. You can log on and actually update some of these things on their portals and so forth. Okay. And once you are there, please put the credit report. Okay, the number of credit card accounts you have, their borrowing limits, and the current outstanding balances, the amounts of any loans you've taken out, how much you've paid, whether your monthly payments for your accounts were made on time, late, or missed altogether, financial setbacks, mortgage foreclosures, car repossession, bankruptcies, notices, judgments, defaults. All these things are listed on your credit report. Okay. You get four types of credits. You've got revolving credit, service credit, installment credit, and charge cards. What I like emphasizing about this is the issue around loyalty cards, and have some of them these days having a store account function linked into them. Okay, so you need to understand some of these things. So other day I was at a filling station, a garage, And when you get to the garage, you also see the decals, that the NCR decals that are there, and you will see who's the credit provider. In some instances, RCS and stuff. So you need to understand what is it that, particularly these ones that have an affiliated partnerships with these supermarkets, where you find mini supermarkets in this. You need to understand what does that mean, okay? And how do you reach your credit report? I referenced this in the beginning. When we started this session in particular, we had that understanding of credit slide with very poor, excellent score, different types of scores. So the credit providers will use the 3-digit number score in terms of deciding whether or not to issue a credit card. So that is a barometer for trust, a barometer of, can we have an understanding that payment will be made. That's what this is about. It's about establishing the trust. So the lower your score, even though you are a trustworthy person, it just means to the credit providers, we have not demonstrated that, and all the credit bureaus don't have the record for that. I would say there are people that might not have a credit file, that hold the view that cash is king. I agree, cash is king, but credit is the palace, and a king without the palace, guys, it doesn't help. So the power of credit is having access and power to leverage other people's money, you know. And yeah, we'll talk about this in some other detail. So we in session 2 now. Get your credit report and take control. How do you get your credit report? You'll see on this slide what we have. You would have details of the credit bureaus in the country. We've got about 14 credit bureaus. Please make contact, guys. It's it's as easy as 1, 2, 3 to get your credit report. So no one must have an excuse. Make contact with TransUnion. Make contact with Experian. Make contact with any of the REITs. I don't speak on behalf of them, and I think we raised this when we were talking about 741, 1,000 people that have pulled their credit reports, free credit report, and that there it goes, guys. Less than 5%, of credit active consumers are pulling their credit report. Okay, and this is free of charge, guys. There's those people say people like things for free. you know if when it comes to credit, it does not even make sense. People are not even pulling a free report. So the only thing that can explain that is either the level of education, meaning the hook, the story, or the offer. The offer is free, so the offer is 0-0. The challenge could be either with the hook, that the messaging is not getting out there, or with the story of why it's important. And this is why we're doing this. Okay, this is one of the reasons why we're doing that. So I've just told you what the offer is for annually on a credit report, at least one that is free. So there's no excuse. I've given you the accessibility of where can you locate your free credit report. It's from the credit bureaus, and they are the contact. So please make contact. When you know what your credit report looks like, why is it important? Okay, you can apply for credit with confidence. You also know who's making inquiries on your profile, and you can plan to make sure that anything that is negatively affecting your credit score, you start making direct or take direct actionable steps to improve that. Okay, the other thing as well, once you know what's on your credit report, you can help yourself not to become a victim of fraud. And I say this because recently, I think Home Affairs it had to reverse about 553 fraudulent marriages. So there's a number of things, guys, that happens with South African green barcoded IDs, or a smart ID, or a smart ID. Okay, 6 quick ways to improve your credit score. In the morning, I was telling people about. You see how many we've listed on the left. On the extreme left, you would have what you call you would have very poor credit score. So I teased them and I said, you see on the left, we kind of piled everything up, and the less you go, you see when you're on if you're on the extreme right, you just have to pay your bills on time in settle and close accounts. So yeah, but the 6 steps: get your credit report, report errors on your credit profile, pay your bills on time, reduce your credit ratio. This is one of the most important. I'm very passionate about this one. um, just because you qualify for 100,000, 10,000, whatever amount you qualify for, don't go maxing that out. Use at least 30 to 40% of that. And these are some of the things that will help you to boost your score. Okay, pay off your outstanding debts. And thank you very much if you've managed to make it here. We are now on the final page, which is our offer. So I said we have three offers. We've got the bronze, silver, and gold offer. We also have corporate packages, but those are subject to being quoted on request based on what a client might require. Our 6 months package, and this is the last session, guys. So we closing today. We've got a special on the 3 months offer currently at 850. Okay, that's a limited offer. So next week we're not running any more specials. Okay, we're not running any more specials. I was in a session last night. Okay, I was in a very important session last night. And this session, I need about 40,000 for that session. I need 40,000, and this is something that is so important, that we need to invest in. So part of what you get out of these packages is what the business invests in other areas in terms of information that we get. So this information, once we go invest 40,000, we get the necessary information, we get the necessary tools that will help you and improve your situation and your circumstance. Okay, so that being said, the offers that we currently have are fairly reasonable, based on what we want to do. So hit us up. So we cover a number of things. Cover over 40 online session. We'll cover how to claim from your credit report. We look at replacement insurance. We look at the National Credit Act. We look at this version. We actually unpack a credit report from different credit bureaus. What you find in them, what do they look like, all that. We also they are more interactive than this session. Okay, much more interactive than this session. This is information sharing. Some of you are rushing to lunch, so we cover FLIS because remember, one of the key pillars of our business is to enable tenants to become homeowners, by leveraging their credit. And so we talk FLIS, but we talk that because we understand most people, literally they are limited by credit access. There's a credit access and scoring limitation that is impacting on their ability to become homeowners. Okay, and these are so part of the things that we look at your current monthly utility. We look at your tenant profile, if it's there, what is happening. We just kind of guide you through that process of what needs to happen, what you should be asking your landlord, what is happening, depending on where you stay, what is currently there. One of the things for when you move into an apartment, the deposit needs to be sitting in an interest-bearing account. Okay, it's a fact. It ought to be sitting in an interest-bearing account. There are legislations that most tenants are not even aware of what is happening. So when you move out, you're supposed to get your money and the interest, not just your deposit. Okay, when there's deductions, I've seen it a couple of times where people say, well, you came in with the deposit of this much, we had to do repairs, and the repairs cost us almost 90%, 60% of your deposit, and no one ever talks about the interest. The interest, what happened to the interest? So these are the things, and that's your interest. Okay, so you will have tools, you'll have formulas. We look at exercises. You also have the benefit of discounts on affiliated partners and products. We expect expert guests. You know, we invite expert guests on particular subject, and you are all divided in. You are not divided per score. You are divided based on the case. Based on what is it that is an issue for you, and that becomes much easy to deal with. Because a score is a score is a score. A score is a score. Okay. Thank you guys very much. Yeah. Enjoy your weekend. God bless and grace. Enjoy. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much.